Greetings to those who are now joining. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey on the Dr. Matthews-Bey Unfiltered. Welcome you to this platform of enforcing the Constitution, where we, the Moors, teach and we enlighten you with the information that are credible to you. This afternoon, or this evening, as a matter of fact, coming out of the Corporation of Guyana. My show this evening is entitled, or based on, as a matter of fact, of what you call prescriptive rights. Now, before I must go on, I must say to you who are looking, especially my Moorish brothers and sisters, Islam to you. Islam means I, self-law, am master. And that is how we teach, and that is how we intend to help you to comprehend where we're coming from. We are a people that are called Aboriginals. That's why I say we are means we. I, who are talking to you right now, Mr. Bey, who is a Moor, helps you to comprehend where we were and where we're now coming from. We were once called the Bantus, we were once called the Mohabites, we were once called the Arawaks. It is still the same thing. We were here on this continent before slavery. We were here on this continent before the Amerindians, before the Europeans. We were here all the time. Before they had the continental drifts, the entire world was one big global land space. When I mean global, all the continents were together. So we all lived on the entire globe, the global land space. That's why when it drifted with the indigenous people who were living, which we will call the Bantus or the Mohabites, to those who are looking. So some people or some persons may have different ancestral teachings about their heritage. It doesn't matter, we're all the same people. We just came from different parts of this globe where we preach or teach, or we have a different language, where we have a different comprehension, but we're all one family. So I don't want us to be distorted at any particular time. On this topic this afternoon, we're going to teach about prescriptive rights and then obtaining transport and title. And I was thinking about it. And then, I was thinking about before 1787, before 1721, before 1700, even in 1411, when it talked about, after the continental drift in 1411, when the Zulu general came across to this continent via boat and tried to seek out, the ancestors in the Americas, especially in Central America, which is now called the Belizean, Belize, as a matter of fact, and Guatemala and Panama and these places in Mexico, and was Greater Colombia and Colombia. And Africa then was known as Kush, the Kingdom of Kush, or the Kingdom of Nubia. It wasn't Africa then, because you'd get to comprehend that Africa was named after the European general, what's his name? Africanus, So we need to get to a place where the historical facts of our origin or our culture not only needs to be replaced, but needs to be told in the rightful and truthful way. We don't want to depend upon those who enslaved us to tell us about our history. They're not going to do that. They're going to continue to call us Black. They're going to continue to call us African or colored, and they're going to decide on this. They're going to sit and make decisions based upon they think what is good for us, feed us the kind of food that is killing us, giving us the kind of medication that's taking us to our grave, and having us using the kind of language that is not healthy for us, because we consume the filthy language in which we do on a daily basis that doesn't make sense. So I want to start this evening's show with a comprehension based upon prescriptive rights. And what is prescriptive rights? I'm talking to those who are listening in the Corporation of Guyana. And it says here in the Constitution, if a person being in sole uninterrupted or undisturbed possession of land for not less than 12 years, he or she thereby becomes a de facto owner and is therefore entitled to apply to the Commissioner of Title or Judge of Land Court, means the Commissioner of Lands and Survey, or the Judge of the Land Court, who they will seek a ruling of, right, to become the de facto owner, and by doing so, that commissioner or judge of land court or for a declaration of prescriptive title. To same on proof of those facts to the satisfaction of the commissioner of title, which is Commissioner of Lands and Survey, or judge of the land court, in the case of state or government land, such as declaration could only be made if the person has been in sole, uninterrupted, or undisturbed possession of the land for a period of not less than 30 years. I'm thinking based upon the treaty that we would have signed in the Americas with the British Corporation, British Guiana Corporation, Company Limited. And that particular possession would have been, we would have given them temporary beneficiaries to the land because they were there to occupy temporary for the business of commerce. We were the owners of this land. So I'm really getting into it. Now you see where their constitution that they would have provided and prepared now backfires on them, right? And it says here, the procedure to obtain the declaration of title, procedure A, it says, applicant must first obtain a plan which to be done by a sworn lands and surveyor of the land for which he or she is seeking to declare of parties of prescriptive title. Now, the de facto administration came in 2008 and surveyed that same land that those people were living on because they were there since 1991, 1990. So one is left to wonder, and they've been there for over 30 years. So one is left to wonder who rightfully owns this land, because as far as I'm seeing it now, according to the Constitution of the Corporation of Guyana, it is the people who owns the land. The village council who has rights over that land, because by law, they are the ancestral benefits of the land of Mocha, Arcadia, New Settlers, Mocha Hostelling, Mocha Providence, Mocha Diamond, all those places were Mocha. That is a whole huge entire land. Okay, I'm going to look into Declaration B. Thereafter, the applicant will apply by way of petition, support by an affidavit, means the truth, to the Commissioner of Title, which means Lands and Survey, or Judge of Land Court. This petition is filed in the registry of the High Court. Notice of the intended applicant is also how shall I put it over, required to be advertised in 3 consecutive publications of the official gazette, as well as publication in the newspapers of general curriculum in Guyana for 3 consecutive Saturdays. This application must all be on the same dates, and copies of these publications have to be sworn to the court. Now, this is what is happening. They don't want us to know the Constitution because they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So by becomes ignorant of the laws of the Corporation of Guyana, it becomes no excuse. But the laws of the Corporation of Guyana does not own the lands of Guyana. As a matter of fact, the lands of America, not Guyana. Guyana is not a land-based organization. It's a temporary, it's a corporation. A corporation cannot own, buy, or sell anything. You cannot own, buy, or sell land. So the corporation now is in violation. They are committing treason. It's a treasonous act that they are doing towards some may say the citizens of the country, but I may say the Aboriginal people of the land, that who owns the land. We are the rightful heirs of the land, because Fraud Ali came in, his foreparents came in 1845. That means they don't have any ancestral benefits. Guyana, the Corporation of British Guyana, came in 1821. So they don't have any prescriptive rights either. They don't have any ancestral rights either of the land. Nobody has. The only person who has is the Aboriginal people that you see now. So now it is their laws. It's not Dr. Matthews-Bey laws. It's not the laws of the Moors. It is the laws of the Corporation of Guyana, who now sets them up for this particular violation. They are now violating the people's right, because the people was there on a piece of land for more than 12 years. They were there for more than 30 years. So you see the discrimination. And the thing is that prescriptively, it is their lands. They don't have to seek ancestral ownage or lineage, because we are ancestral. Take a look at the color of our skin. We're pigmented. Our hair is hard as wool. The names in which we have, which is Bey, gives you the title of ancestral lineage to the land, so that we own it. It is ours. You are here on a temporary basis pertaining to the crown, pertaining to the agreement of the crown, which they could now call crown lands, on a temporary loan to the crown, which you call Guyana today. So there's no government reserve. You don't have a reserve on the land of Americans. You don't have it, you don't own it. So what is very displeasing is that you're not only violating your own constitution, you're violating your own laws. And then you're committing treason by making the Aboriginal people on the land uncomfortable. I know some people mightn't like what I say constantly. Some of them mightn't, approve of the position in which I stand, but I have to be clear and direct. I stand against any organization that ill-treats and terrorizes my people, my kinsmen, or you call it kinsmen. I stand against, and I will stand against every principality that does that. That not commits inhumane acts, but commits inhumane acts against living souls, Aboriginal people. That's who we are. I am not the one that will pretend or to stand with any organization to pretend that these things aren't happening, and to smile and approach it very diplomatically and use words that are maybe comforting to the organizations who are terrorists, that commits these terroristic acts against my people, my kinsmen. These are the facts. I can't hide it. I can't pretend that these things don't happen. It happens. But we need to stop pretending that it doesn't happen. Some of us knows the right things and reverts to the European carnage that destroyed us for a period of time. And I shouldn't even say Europeans, because the word Europe derived from the African queen. The word Europe derived from the African queen Europa. So I shouldn't even say Europeans. That's how deep our knowledge goes. I should say Homo sapiens, because that's what they call themselves. They're not even Caucasians. They're Homo sapiens. Believe you me, if you study what Homo sapiens is yes, it means to be human, but if you study what human means, it means to be dead. We are the living souls. You keep your 2/3 of being human and your 1/3 of being human and your whole humanness to yourself. Homo sapiens. I would comprehend that. We need to get deep into the words that we spoke of, that we speak constantly every day. I told my friend day before yesterday, I said, English language is a language that was created for commerce. It was a combination of languages. That's what English language is. It's a combination of languages. Your dialect, your mother tongue is what represents you and represents the land that you live on. The minute you decide to use English language as a language of origin for your country, then you give up all your ancestral rights. So now we come back to the same thing. It is not my law, it is their law that talks about prescriptive rights. I didn't create this. The Constitution was created, this Constitution was then created by the British Empire. Then it was passed down to Guyana, which was then British Guiana in 1966, and they amended it. Because as far as I'm concerned, this particular law that I'm now talking about was amended in 2012. Talk about obtaining title and transport under prescriptive rights. And the prescriptive rights that I'm talking about is our ancestral rights. We were here far beyond 30 years. Far beyond 30 years, and they can't go beyond 54 years because Guyana became independent in 1966. Not interdependent nation, but an independent nation. In 1966. So they can't claim any land who are living on those lands beyond 1966 because they don't have the authority to. That is why they're committing treason. The legal system of the Corporation of Guyana. And we have all these nations sitting down and watching them committing these treason against the Aboriginal indigenous people of the land. Moving them off, calling them squatters. Can you imagine that nonsense? Huh? Can you imagine that nonsense? This is what we're left with as a corporation, bullying us, tearing us off our ancestral benefits, taking away our inalienable rights, the right to life, liberty, and property. How long more can we sit and just accept such brutality? People talking about, oh, you have to cordially talk about certain things. You can't talk about it in such a this, but they are destructive to us. This democracy has brought us. This destructiveness is what democracy has brought us. This destructiveness is what capitalism has brought us. Take a very good look at it. Are we benefiting from it? No, we're not. Those who come in best know that Dr. Matthews-Bey ain't no walkover. I am not going to sit and allow people to do nonsense and keep quiet. Our people being dislocated. That's the only way capitalism works. That is the only way democracy works, by divide and rule. If you divide the people, you can rule them. If they're united, you cannot rule them. It is impossible. Check the system that we're living by, people. If you're united, it's impossible to have a democracy or capitalism. If you're united, it's impossible to have politicians, because you're united because of one cause, common cause and one goal. And when you're united, now they call you socialists and communists. That's the words that they're using, because you're united for one goal. Yes, but as long as you're divided, well, then you're a democracy. And that's the way of the world. That's how the world runs today. I can't sit here and have all this knowledge and pretend that it's well and good. It's not. Look at the democracy we live by. The wealth of the people is the resources of the land. That is the wealth of the people. It is the resources of the land, what the land gives. Now, in a capitalist system, they're telling you your wealth is based upon a piece of paper with some ink on it that they call fiat currency. And even so, that piece of paper with some ink on it has no worth until when you spend it. You leave it by itself, it has no worth. I'm going to show you a simple example. Use the most financial capital of the world. Let's use the US. If all 52 states of the United States decides to go on strike, that country will be bankrupt in minutes. Because you know why? The worth of that country, it is the freedom of the flow of currency. If the currency, that fiat dollar, stops flowing, means shifting from hand to hand, that's the end. Take 24 hours and you halt the economy. That is the end. It collapses. It's worth nothing. Because the people are not working for it. The people are not spending it. They decide to stop one day, 24 hours. You never hear what it said when you got a country-wide strike. You bring the country to its knees. The country depends upon the free flow of the dollar. That's how it works. So you are the currency. Because without you spending the money, the dollar has no worth. But oh no, Dr. Matthews, you can't say these things. These things are discussed behind closed door in high places. Only the elite supposed to discuss these things. Well, here, I'm tired of the elite. Because the elite has our people in bondage. They have them in slavery. And slavery is a prison industry complex. Because that's what it is. That's what capitalism is. That's what that's what our democracy is. It's a prison industrial complex. Because you divide the people. When you don't divide them, you put them one side. You got this prison, you got the prison. Depends on which prison each one of them in. Because you don't have your freedom. It's been taken away from you by the capitalist system that practices democracy. You get where I'm coming from? That is why I sat down and I looked at the thing and I said, man, you know, everybody's so hooked on politics. Everybody's so hooked on the people like myself, you know, related people who are looking upon the opposition to represent them, right? And I realized that I have to do something. I definitely have to do something. And that's why I decided to say, well, look, I'm going to join with the opposition and I'm going to be a representative of my people, not a politician, a representative. My duty is to go out there and represent them. Because if you're going to vote, you got to make sure that it's someone who's on your side to stand for you and to represent you. That's the fact. One person told me, said, well, then you're becoming a racist. And I said, no. A racist has two things. A racist has, how should I put it over? Have privilege. I don't have privilege. And a racist has resources, and I don't have resources. I have my freedom. I'm a living soul, but I don't have resources to practice racism, and I'm not privileged to practice racism. So it's impossible for me to become racist. It's very impossible. And I'm only looking out for my people who's been suffering for more than 500 years. And every 4-year political term, these politicians promising you to amend constitutions that you can benefit from it. 500 years passed. And which amendment we talking about? Look at the largest country that practices civil rights. Their high court struck down certain parts of the Civil Rights Act of the 1950s. We in a part of that particular country, we are deemed and known as, not we, Guyana is not part of that particular country, but Guyana is known as a third world country. When the de facto regime of the PPP is going to amend such laws that you can benefit from it. Look what they're doing. They're chasing after your ancestral lands. They're making a mess of the situation. They're trying to tell you that nobody can stop them because they're big and powerful. They got the resources and they have the privilege to do such things. Supported by the US State Department. Because they've been doing it all the time. They remove the elected body of the APNU AFC party out of government and installed someone who has never won via way of free and fair elections. They have won, no, they want to tell you they won based upon credibility of the international community, not of the people of the Corporation of Guyana. They were given credibility based upon the ABCE countries. America, Britain, Canada, and Europe. Now, we find in their constitution now they are violating their own, they're not only violating the rights of the people, but they're committing treason upon the Aboriginal indigenous people of the land, who are the sole heirs of the land. Because their ancestors left it for them. Their ancestors would have signed treaties in the 1700s so they can benefit from the corporations of commerce and industry who has been given temporary privileges to occupy and to create economic benefits of the land, which we call commerce. Did you get where I'm coming from? Some people like to say, oh, Mr. Bey, you stepping on people's toes. You have to step on people's toes. You just can't pretend that this thing happening. You got to step on people's toes, whether they like it or not. They like you stepping on them, and you got to step on their toes. It's impossible for you to start just keep on pretending. Let me tell you about the destructive elements of prescriptive rights. No one will sit and tell you that you have rights to the land that you're living on. I mean, the members of the opposition who's trying their best to make sure that this happens. But you look at it, take a good look at it. I mean, talking to you who are living in heavily populated areas. I'm talking about you who are not living in heavily populated areas. Ask yourself when last someone sit and had this discussion with you upon prescriptive rights. You see the PPP, they walk into their village to tell their villagers who are living on lands that they're not theirs about prescriptive rights. And they make sure they get them to apply, do the application, sign up the form, and eventually now they get their what you call transports very quietly without you knowing about it. All they want you to focus is smoking the weed, taking the money, drinking the rum, pushing the drugs, shooting people, and enjoy the entertainment life. Because all you're fit for is entertainment, and they push your women into prostitution. I can't pretend that ain't happening because that's how they invest in your community. Instead, they invest in the community the right way. They bring these businessmen to what you call expand their businesses in your community, turn it into a ghetto. I got guns, drugs, prostitution, and music. Guns, drugs, prostitution, and music. Pick up your phone every every afternoon and join the bus. Call and sing on the telephone for a piece of fried chicken or 2 pieces of fried chicken, some fries, and a 10-ounce drink. That's all they want you to continue doing. And they're going to pay the institution that they're using, which I call 94.1, to continue to encourage you to focus on this entertainment life. You can imagine as an event like that took place in this country, and all they can talk about in the airwaves is Mash Ramani for the 23rd of February next month. And they're talking about it every single day from the beginning of January. They didn't even cover an event based upon the terrible incidents that's happening in Mocha Caneview. And if anybody asks me, I'm still ticked off about it. Because you know why? It's not being brought up. Nobody's covering the issues. Nobody's continuing to cover the issues. And the de facto regime is in total violation of their own laws. They have now committed treason on the Aboriginal peoples of this land. Sorry, I don't say black people, and I don't say African Guyanese. I don't say those things. I call us Aboriginal people. Or if nobody wants to say Aboriginal peoples, well, I call us the Bantus, the Bantu people, or the Mohobites, or ancestral names, or the Arawaks. Because black, Negro, Indian was the other one, African, all these things are created and lodged as a part of the system. It's a systematic name to identify you. I can't keep the secret. I'm sorry. I got to talk about it because it's a destructive element to our people. We have been blinded by the facts that these things exist in our lifetime. And we're still blinded by that fact. We are still blinded by that fact. It becomes a difficult situation for us as a people. And you know, the dangers of it, look, let me read the other sectors, right? Let me read section E. It says any person intended to oppose the applicant is required to file a notice or opposition supported by an affidavit within 1 month. And after the first publication of the notice, when all these procedures have been completed, the matter is set down for a hearing by court. That didn't happen. These people just walk in and move these people off the land. They never give them no court hearing. They took them off their ancestral lineage. And then you can tell them about government reserve. There's no government reserve. There's no such thing as a government reserve. And they could only have that hearing via way of land court. It says the land court usually obtains the registrar's report as to registered owner of the land, if any. The land court can't issue no notice as government reserve before 1966 because they can't find the information. The de facto regime or de facto government came into place after 1966. And those lands were occupied before 1966. It was occupied before the 1900s. It was occupied before the 1800s, before 1821. So where is the ownership of government reserve? You're committing treason. You were given a temporary economic, commercial activity. You've been given a temporary permission to create an economic and commercial activity on the lands of America that you call Guyana. That activity is housed in what you call a corporation, which is known as Guyana. It's for business purposes only. So a lot of us don't know these things. We need to research this information. We can't sit down and hear people tell us a bunch of garbage. And let me read section G. It says, the matter is thereafter fixed for a hearing by a commissioner of lands and survey or judge of land court. After hearing, the court may grant the application titled by virtue of the fact of his or her occupation of the land in the questions for 12 years or more without objection, consent, without objection, consent, or permission of the owner. So I got evidence to show that I was living there for more than 30 years. Evidence that I was living there for more than 30 years. What is the problem now? I got enough evidence showing that I live in there for more than 30 years. after the order of prospective title is obtained, an applicant may apply to the registrar for a transport title based on the order. So you got a regime committing treason upon the inheritance of the land that they don't own. There's no such thing as government reserve. The government has no reserve. They don't own any land. They are temporary. All corporations are temporary on the land. That's the fact. All corporations are temporary on the land. So we got a serious problem there. We have a serious problem that now arrived because now the government has committed treason. The de facto regime has committed treason. They have illegally removed, or they have caused terror to the inheritance of the land, that ancestral land. They have caused terror, mayhem, and destruction. That is a treasonous act. And they have done it willfully. That is what they have done. It willfully. They don't care. They don't care who doesn't benefit or who does not, who punishes from this event. This is the they're going to make sure that they'll work their way for me to be silenced. But Dr. Matthews-Bey, who cares? I don't care how hard they work to silence me. But who cares? I will not be silenced. I will speak up the truth. I wouldn't pretend. They hate my platform. They don't like my platform. They have worked so hard to destabilize my platform. They took it away from me, and then, I don't know, somehow by changing a few things, Facebook suddenly gave it back to me. It has too many persons on it. You could imagine if my platform was active for the past year and a half, it was down. That's how long it was down. Year and a half. I would have gotten more than 15,000 followers. I would have had more than 435,000 people who would constantly check in on the show. According to but that's too much for one Aboriginal man. That's too much power You know, 405,000 people. That's like taking the whole voters list and putting in my pocket. But I don't seek the kind of power they want. I want my people to be free, to be liberated. That's what I want. Our freedom must be regarded as our choice to live by every means and every cause necessary. We mustn't sound like we have no hope when we're crying into the wilderness. I've passed through that. I've known what it was in 2000 to 2010. I know what it to hear women wailing in the streets because of the deaths of their sons and brothers and fathers and uncles. It was too much carnage, but they don't want you to talk about it. Want you to cover it down, to die it down, you know. No one is to talk about it because it's too much to talk about the PPP regime that has passed and gone and that's present now. It is the same players. They would have changed their clothes, but they haven't changed who they are. It's a murderous group and a murderous gang of thugs. That's who they are. They've killed our own people plus us. They have no respect for life. They will take it by any means necessary. Can't imagine how slaves sit there and tell the world that these things doesn't exist. Can you imagine such utter nonsense, such gravity of insult to people who are punished so greatly under the PPP? We still got to their mothers and sisters and aunties who are still mourning the deaths of their loved ones. One woman mourning the death of not only her son, but a nephew, the Henry boys. And because she stood up to a de facto regime, they keep molesting the woman. The woman died under duress, heart failure, stress, because they picked up her only son that is left back and put him in jail for the murder of the Singh boys. Singh. So I know the struggle continues. They don't want the truth to be highlighted. And they try to silence Dr. Matthews-Bey. We're going to take away his rights. So you can't take away my rights. I have the right to live. And as long as I have a platform like this, I will speak. We'll make sure that he gets no job, no contract for his business. We'll make sure that nothing he doesn't enjoy anything. We're going to crush him and oppress him. I mean, that's what they're doing. In the corporation, I'm known as a political prisoner because I cannot do any business in the corporation. Well, fine. Who gives the? Fine, you can keep your corporation. Because if I had wanted to do something with a corporation, I would have accepted the $15 million that you sent to ask me if I can accept, or would have accepted $25 million just after you kidnapped me. Because I knew that was the next thing coming. If I rejected $25 million, the next thing I would have been dead, but I don't know. Somehow I don't know how I'm still alive. But you make sure that I was being kidnapped. We understand that. I understand that too. I comprehend that, as a matter of fact. Well, it looks like they're trying their best at certain things. It looks like they're trying their best at certain things. And I comprehend, fully comprehend. There, I don't know what to say. The most I can say is this: I would never stop. I'd be a force to reckon with. I will be that person. I will be that persona, that living soul that you hate the most. I will stand as a scar upon your racial memory that you will never forget. I'll go down in the history of time and all eternity. You remember me. Dr. Matthews-Bey, a Moor, a man who's unshaken, unbothered about your illusions. I will stand in your courts of hate and terror, and I will denounce it. I will continue to do such things. You talk about terror. The terror doesn't fool me. I've seen it. Smiled in the face of death, because death has no sting. Not with me, and it will never be. I say these things this afternoon because I want to continue to edify my people. I want to continue to show them the truth and where the truth lies. I want to be able to constantly tell you and to come here constantly from Monday to Friday, from 6:30 to 7:30 or a specific time given. I am Dr. Matthews-Bey. The more who will bring to you the truth and events that will enlighten you and edify you. Tonight's broadcast comes to you with the kind compliments of Greenleaf Distributors and Black Love. I want to say to you, stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself. Don't forget to one's